You're listening to Clock Radio Speakers with Armand and Doc. To hear the rest of this week's show, exclusive episodes, and more, subscribe today at patreon.com/CRS podcast or clockradiospeakers.com.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Clock Radio Speakers. I'm your co-host, Armand Wake Up. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Armand Wake Up, ARMOND, Wake Up, all one word. More important than that, please join the Patreon, man. Go to patreon.com/CRS podcast. Join the community. Shout out to the Patreon community. We got quite a few new members, so shout out to all the new members, and rightfully so, because this is, Doc, I always feel like we're always in the right place in the right time when like historical moments in hip hop history, but also just like in history happen. And I don't want to compare this to like a historical event, but when Good Kid, Mad City came out, we already had this established. We were there. Drake and Meek Mill, we were there. So many moments in hip hop history. We have been fortunate enough to be a beacon of voice and context. And, here we are 12 years later.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought we were just two guys talking about, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. I mean, what I love about this is like, and by the way, this is Doc, everybody. You probably know that. So what I love about our show
show some humility, man.
I'm
joking. Go ahead.
What I love about our show is, so much right now is everybody rushing to get their reaction up. Their immediate, quick, gotta have it, gotta get it, gotta be on YouTube. And it's like, no. Because like sometimes you need to take a step back. You need to actually like think about this. Try to put stuff in context. I feel like we try to do a good job of that. I feel like that's what we're going to try to do here today.
In some cases, you kind of have to wait because what you think is going to happen. 3 other things happen the next day.
Right. I would not want to be in the YouTube reaction game. Right. On the one hand, your numbers have never been higher. On the other hand, you are a slave. No pun intended. No joke intended, considering the topics that have been bandied around the internet the past couple days. But you are a slave just to like, oh, this big name artist has decided to drop. I must, within 24 hours, sometimes even quicker, get to my setup, record this reaction video, edit it, hope I can monetize it. Like, kudos to folks who do that. Not for me.
Yeah, I did it a little bit.
That's fine. That's fine.
I try to, when I talk outside of CRS, I try to find other lanes because I know we're going to hit like the nerdy rap stuff, and then we will also get into some like humanity theory context, what this connects to macro level. And I'm like, I try to find other spaces so that it still works holistically. I do not and will not step on this podcast.
But like, if you are looking for our immediate reactions to stuff, let me tell you where that's been. That's been in the Patreon chat, right?
Yes,
so
it has.
Listening to this.
Oh, look at that.
Patreon.com/CRS podcast. The chat is actually great. It's really like become a place where people are just like checking in. Something happens. People are having all these like threads kind of spawning off. People having conversations. Unfiltered hot takes from me. It's great because like Armand and I are both logged in as Clock Radio Speakers. So sometimes I have to be like, okay, this is Doc. Now I'm going to say this whole long thing.
I feel like people, just based off of like how we write,
can tell
I think people can tell.
You can typically tell the difference. Yeah.
But it's good, man. It's like, I don't have to, be mindful of what I say, how I say it, because the context is already there. You don't have to make it cute or whatever. Some people will just blurb it out, and then some people write whole paragraphs, and it's all good. I love it.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
So if anything, if you're looking for a safe space to talk nerdy hip hop, head over to the CRS Patreon. Make sure you have the app, or it's available on the desktop. You can
now do it on the website finally, man. They took forever with that.
They took forever with that. So, yeah, man.
So this week, obviously, we are going to catch up and dive deep, but not like, I mean, maybe you wanted this. I'm not going to be pulling up Genius and going line for line on these disses. I want to talk more like at a, I want to talk at like a meta level, at a macro level.
Yep.
There's a lot of other people who've done like line by line, and there's some lines. Obviously, we're going to talk about some individual songs. We are absolutely going to talk about, but we're going to talk about this. What's been going on between what started as it was put 1v20, right? As Drake versus a whole bunch of people, which it was interesting. Started wide, got really narrow, and then got wide again at the end.
Wider.
So we're definitely talking about that, and then the second half of our conversation today, which I'm assuming this will be exclusively for Patreon, probably.
Yeah.
Is we're gonna do a definitive 15 on diss songs and hip hop.
Oh yeah.
That's one of the great things you get when you become a member of the Patreon. You get the second, like the full conversation of like the main topic plus all this other stuff. So we already did a pre-show. You get that. You're gonna get this definitive 15. Last month we did definitive 15 songs from 1994. Armand did a DJ set that's up for Patreon, all kinds of goodies. Y'all know. Head over, join that. There's a free trial now. You can dive in, check it out. So, All right, that's enough selling. That's enough shilling.
Let's get to the shenanigans.
Boy,
where do we start?
Like, where do you even? So, we are recording this. It is Tuesday, May 7th. I'm giving time date. It's 8:00 at night. I'm giving time and date because, I feel like we've gotten to a place where if nothing else happened, that would feel natural.
I think it's
right.
I thought that Kendrick was going to do a victory lap, and I feel like if he would have done it, he would have did it yesterday.
He did a victory lap.
He did. Well, that was the planting the flag.
Okay.
Like that was I think that was the final, not like us is like the final knockout punch. I feel like he was going to dance on the grave of.
Yeah, I was going to say, to me, that it's so right. So since we last spoke with y'all,
previously on Ready to Die,
a ton of things have happened. Drake released the tailor-made freestyle, which I thought was provoking, interesting, kind of funny.
People did not like that.
People did not like it.
They were pissed.
Yeah, people were mad for a variety of reasons. People were mad about the AI. People were mad about
Tupac.
All kinds. Tupac specifically.
Right? Nobody was mad about Snoop because Snoop kind of alluded in a way that he cleared his likeness. I guess that's what you would.
But also, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I know two things about Los Angeles. People love Kobe Bryant, and people love Tupac.
That's right.
I know those two things are true. There's many other things that are true. I know those two things are true. And, I'm sure Drake thought, this is really a theme of this whole thing. Drake thought he was playing one kind of game. Because I don't think Drake really hated Kendrick. I think
Not
he
at
was all. Annoyed, bemused,
he
bored.
kind of tried to little boy him a little bit.
Oh, he little boyed him.
Tried to. It didn't work.
It didn't. And he didn't realize that he was playing with a psychopath, basically. Named Kendrick Lamar, who no rapper will ever cross ever again. He's untouchable. Like when we were growing up, even when Jordan came back for the Wizards and he was now older and he wasn't as sharp. I remember reading this story about how younger players, like he would play against all these younger players in the offseason to try to stay sharp. And how one of them had to be reminded by like a vet or like a coach, like, you don't understand. You cannot like provoke Jordan. And they're like, he's like 38. Like I can dunk on him. Like, you don't understand. Like everybody was afraid of Jordan. Like he was the boogeyman. Okay. And I'm telling you, every rapper now, they're afraid of Kendrick Lamar. If they weren't before, they're terrified of Kendrick Lamar.
Are they? I feel like previously the boogeyman was Pusha T. Is this a thing now where there are boogeymen?
I got to commend Terrence Thornton. What restraint he has shown. He's been nowhere near this. Nowhere.
Listen,
Kanye couldn't resist. Ye was like, I got you, Kendrick. And everyone was like, thanks, but no thanks.
I got you. No, like nobody asked you to get anyone. Get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Pusha, I think Pusha probably, I mean, whether he did this intentionally or not, Pusha the less he does, the better. right? Like if he gets involved, it gets kind of messy. You get other kinds of stuff. But yeah, so we had the Tailor Made freestyle, we had Euphoria, we had 616.
616 in LA or 616
we had what's that?
616 in Compton or 616 in LA?
I don't know, actually, I forgot. We had, after that was Family Matters, which
In
was
LA.
then followed by Meet the Grams and Not Like Us. And then Heart Part 6.
Part 6.
Heart Part 6.
Yep.
That's all in the last like 3 weeks. And most of those have come in the last like 7 to 10 days.
Not 7 to 10.
Not even. Yeah. 5 to 3 or 5. Yeah.
3 to 5 days. Yeah.
There's been a lot of music. There's been a lot of reaction. There's been a lot of piling on. There's been a lot of narratives. There's been a lot of all kinds of stuff. Armand, we got a million places we could start. Is there any place in particular you want to start? Is there any particular, like, I know there's a couple like high level things that I want to make sure that I say on this show for sure, but then I've got like a million topics. We can go in a million directions. Do you have like any like opening statements, any like something that is just like top of mind for you?
No, I mean, I honestly think that if we start, I think we just need to start through the timeline, because that goes into what I think is the reason why one of the reasons why Kendrick won this battle. And it was because of strategy.
Yeah. Okay. So
we probably should. So we should probably start with the end. We should probably start with the end of push-ups.
Right.
And the 2 weeks that it took for Kendrick to respond.
Right. So on April 13th, Push-Ups leaks out. We already talked about that in the previous Clack Radio Speakers. It's officially released on April 19th. Also, that's when Drake releases Tailor Made, which has, as we mentioned, AI versions of Pac and Snoop rapping at Kendrick, basically wondering why he hasn't responded yet, and then Drake finishes it off. 11 days later, on April 30th, Kendrick puts out Euphoria, where we are now escalating beyond what I would call standard Beast stuff, like where it was, like F the Big Three, or all the stuff on Push-Ups about how you big step in with a size 7, like all the like schoolyard stuff.
J. Cole saying your second album wasn't that good.
Oh, J. Cole. Oh, J. Cole.
Out
of all the second albums to say what, like, just pick on Damn. It's fine. I don't think anybody would have minded. People like that, but like, it's fine. Euphoria really starts to reveal the level of hatred that Kendrick has for Drake. Talks about how Drake isn't raising his son right. Really just says, I hate the way that you dress. I hate the way that you like, just really like,
I'm a hater. Yeah.
Straight up, like,
I like your music, but I don't like you as a person.
I like when you, is that, now that there's when somebody disses, it's hard to keep track. That's where he says, is that where he says, I like singing Drake, harmonizing Drake, or melody Drake. I don't like rap. Yeah.
That's Euphoria.
So that's April 30th. Then I think like 3 days later, he posts 616 in LA. And this is where we start to get saying that Drake can't trust the people around him. Right. And the cover art is a zoomed in picture of a glove. We will soon see the larger photo. I need to we got to talk about the shenanigans behind this. I don't know. We'll do it in a second. Okay. On May 3rd, Drake releases Family Matters late at night.
Late at night. It's probably like 9:30-ish, something like that. 9:30, 10 o'clock Eastern.
Where he's alleging a lot. Alleges that one of Kendrick's kids isn't his. Alleges that Kendrick, from my perspective, the biggest accusation is that he abuses his partner.
Not only is the kid not his, it is Dave Free who runs PG Lang with Kendrick.
PG Lang. Right. So this is a 3-part record. On this 3-part record, he takes most of the middle section to fire back at all the other people. Metro, ASAP, Rick Ross, right? Sort of like trying to, he's making a mistake here, right? Where he's not focusing on the real thing, which is Kendrick. The rest of this is all noise, right? Don't worry about Rick Ross, right? So that this was supposed to be, and I should point out, the beginning of Family Matters is the song that's teased at the end of Push-Ups.
That's right.
So this has been cooking for a while. He probably like added on to this to address things that came up over the coming weeks, but like he had been kind of planning this for a bit. And I think Family Matters, this was supposed to be the record. This was supposed to be the nuclear response from Drake.
This is the
right?
bomb. This is the red button that Drake has been alluding to since Scary Hours 3. Yeah.
This is the red button. Unfortunately for him, 20 minutes later, yes, like 20 minutes later,
literally,
Kendrick puts out a song called Meet the Grams. One of the most haunting and debilitating diss tracks in hip hop history. Where Kendrick speaks directly to members of Drake's family, telling his son that he's sorry Drake is his father, tells his parents that Drake's a pedophile, says that Drake has a daughter he didn't know about,
and accused Drake of child trafficking.
I was going to say, accused Drake of child trafficking, and then at the end, addresses Drake directly and basically breaks him down psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
I have not played this song for anybody whose immediate reaction wasn't just their jaw dropping and like looks of disgust and horror. Then the next day,
it's an evil beat. You're really speed racing through these records.
There's so much to talk about. Well, I'm trying to lay out the timeline and then we can kind of dive in.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, my bad. You got it.
That's okay. And then the next day is Not Like Us, which is, I would describe it as a classic, like, up-tempo DJ Mustard record that I don't like. But I'm in the minority.
You said it was the text you sent me, yo. Doc said it sounded like a beat from a Chappelle skit.
Yeah, it does.
Then the crazy part is that's a sample.
I know, it's a sample.
That's crazy.
So Not Like Us goes even deeper on the allegations that Drake is a pedophile. And then the next day, Drake releases Heart Part 6, where he refutes refutes the pedophile and grooming allegations, doubles down on domestic violence allegations, claims that he planted false information for Kendrick. Because I should point out the cover of Meet the Grams. What's the cover with all the stuff on it? Is that
Meet the Grams is the wider picture.
It's like the wider picture of the glove and the pill bottles and the shirt. Yeah. So
because Not Like Us is Drake's mansion with the
sex
the
offender
pedophile.
pins on them. Yeah. All right. That's a whirlwind look at the timeline. Armand, as you were going through this,
oh boy.
I mean, I want to talk about Meet the Grams, frankly. That's the one that, like, I think to me that was the knockout blow. But like, I'm curious, like, I mean, do you want to die? Are there any of these in particular where you're like, oh, that was noteworthy to me?
A lot of it, all of it is noteworthy to me. I think, man, there's so much. I think you have to start with Euphoria. And with Euphoria, when you go back and listen in hindsight, Kendrick tells you exactly what he's gonna do. But of course, hindsight is 2020. So not only does he tell you what he's gonna do, he tells you that he knows what Drake is gonna do, and Drake does pretty much exactly what he believed that he was gonna do. So how did you feel about? Let's slow walk this a little bit. How did you feel about opening with the Teddy Pendergrass? You're my latest, greatest inspiration.
I thought that song took a little long to get going, personally. I also can't believe that nobody has I don't know, and all these things, like, it's so funny to hear Euphoria. That is such a Baby Keem beat that he's rapping on at the end.
Both of those beats are Baby Keem's to me. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought Euphoria was good. I didn't think it was like the most amazing thing I'd ever heard in my life, but I was like, all right. But what I thought was notable about it is, like, he's not, like, it was very clear from Euphoria on, Drake is trying to play a game and Kendrick's trying to do something else completely different. Right? We didn't know the depths to which he was going to try to, let's just say, he's trying to destroy Drake's career. He's trying to end Drake's career. Right? I mean, I think that's basically what's happening. I don't think everybody quite understood the depths of that, but, like, it was, from Euphoria, you see the divergence immediately, right? Like, they're just playing at different games. Like, I mean, Kendrick just, I think, is, like, offended by the very idea of Drake and the life that Drake lives, like, frankly, right?
Absolutely.
And that was very obvious.
he's become Mr. Morale, and he believes that Drake is immoral.
Yeah.
Everything that he stands for. Yeah.
There's a lot of people. Believe me, got a lot of people on my timeline popping up everywhere. All of a sudden, everybody's very moral. Boy, everybody's got opinions about Drake.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy. With Euphoria, I agree with you. You know, if, on my Patreon, I literally just recorded myself with, like hearing it for the first time because I was at Taylor Gray's house when the record dropped.
Yeah.
And Taylor was like, "Oh, this is a knockout," and I was like, "Nah, this isn't the knockout. This is the first heavy punch. This is the first overhand right, but it's not a knockout because the first thing I said was Kendrick clearly has more." And when I heard it, I'm like, he's showing restraint as much as he's saying this. I think that the fact that he noted that he was a hater was very interesting to see how everything played out, because so many artists benefit from what we've coined it to be the Drake stimulus package, and seeing people's responses after the battle is over and then seeing people's silence as the battle was happening, it very much read like many other artists are going along to get along when it comes to Drake. They want all of the spoils, but they want none of the toils, none of the relationship. They just know, if I can get Drake to give me a hit record, I'm good, right, but I don't necessarily want a relationship with this person. It may even go as far as I don't really like them.
The silence, like not a single person in the industry has stepped forward in any way. You haven't heard from Wayne. You haven't heard from Nicki. You haven't heard from 21. You haven't heard from Yachty, really. You haven't heard from anybody who has spent a lot of time with Drake over the years to even say something as mild as, I never saw, like, I was around, like, nothing. Just nothing. That to me alone, like, the silence is deafening. Mm-hmm. And almost to me means more than the accusations, like, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You know, like, because there's some bias. You know, Kendrick's going to say what he wants to say. Like, Kendrick's trying to take him down. But, like, not a single person.
Yeah, not even like the only person I saw even give like a let's go Drake was like Mac Main,
who should stay out of it. He should 100%.
And I think that's why, right? Because now you're seeing all of these people they're just immediately digging into your tweets and they're pulling up stuff from. I mean, and that's normal. That's par for the course on Twitter, right?
It is because they did it from Metro. I don't know if you saw that. That happened today.
Yeah, they called him Metro grooming. Yep. Oh, the OVO. Listen, I've seen the OVO stands. They are working double and triple overtime to try and get some ground. Name. Yeah, clear his name and also get some ground for. I've seen some stuff about some of the accusations that Drake made towards Kendrick. I'm seeing a lot, so they're working overtime for nothing.
Oh yeah.
I wondered if there was a parallel between Drake saying I can never be nobody's number one fan and Kendrick opening Euphoria with a sample of a song called "You're My Latest Greatest Inspiration." I felt like there was some sort of parallel there.
Yeah, I could see that, but I got to say one thing: like I'm a little burnt out on the Kendrick superfans digging, looking for quintuple entendres. Like I've had it.
That 616 was the most egregious thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Listen, man, that was the date that Nicole Simpson and it's like, all right, just stop it.
It's crazy. And if you add 6 + 1 is 7, 7 + 6 is 13. And on September 13th, that's when Tupac, like, all right.
Did somebody say that?
Yeah, somebody said that. Yeah, it's like, and then they were like, the one that pissed me off was Bible verse 6:16. Do you know how many chapter 6 verse 16s there are in the Bible? Are you crazy? Like,
I knew that was going to get you.
Oh, I was just annoyed. Not because, I'm not saying that people can't use the Bible for, creative, like as a source of creative freedom and entendre. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is it's not how this applies here, and it's not how you read the Bible. It's not how it works. So overall, yeah, I give Euphoria on a 1 to 10. I gave it like a solid 8.
Yeah, 7 or an 8, somewhere in there. It's a good hit. Because I didn't think, like, I don't know. Tailor Made was whatever.
Yeah, I actually
Push-Ups. I liked Push-Ups. I thought
did too.
I thought that the fact that it kind of like teased the song at the end, but then he waited so long to drop it. I don't know really how long that,
He should have. I mean, honestly, he really could have dropped Family Matters like in sections.
Well, Family Matters really should have actually just been like a little Scary Hours pack. Like, he should have just taken some time and like done some, but that's a whole other conversation.
He should have spaced out that bomb. He really could have spaced out that bomb. Because that wasn't the real big one was the third verse. But we'll get there. But yeah, I actually think that Push-Ups in the grand scheme of things, like Push-Ups is a little underrated.
I think it's been forgotten mostly. Yeah,
I think that if it wouldn't have leaked, I think it would have had a much stronger impact. I think the leak really messed it up.
The leak messed it up for sure. And I know people were talking about like, why did it take him so long? I think he probably had to clear the sample, frankly. Like, he had to get all his paperwork right and everything else like that. Sometimes that stuff just takes time,
And honestly, honestly, Kendrick found out how to get around that, because here's the other game that Drake was trying to play. It was very clear that like that being as successful as it was bothered Drake, because Drake was trying to get on iTunes, trying to get on Apple Music, trying to get on streaming and get that number one. Whereas Kendrick is like YouTube, Instagram.
Right.
I just need people to hear this. I don't really care about. Now, just so happened that everything except 616 got cleared. He had already gotten everything cleared, and he probably did that in the 14 days where everyone was like, Kendrick's still on the clock. He's actually taking care of the business.
Right.
So he can do that, because I think the songs end up on streaming a few hours, if not the next day. They turn around pretty quick.
Yeah.
But just put them on YouTube. I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I'm not monetizing it, but it's not about money. It's where the kids are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's where the kids are.
So from Euphoria, we go to 616 in LA.
Yeah.
616 in LA. Let's talk about the beat first, because I immediately thought of you when I heard the beat.
Why is that?
Because I was like, oh, this is I said Doc is gonna like this beat, this flip. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, Doc's gonna like this flip. And the flip is hard.
Yeah, no,
it's hard.
It's a great Al Green flip. Yeah, no question. It's dope. Soundwave and Jack Antonoff, who's Taylor Swift's producer.
So. Literally, the beat was tailor made. Like, I know. All right, guys.
No, Soundwave did production on a Taylor Swift album recently, so I'm assuming that's just called like they were working on something in a session together, and then But people don't want to hear about truth or logic. No. People, don't get me started. There's like a million things right now where it's just like everyone's taking like a sliver and they're extrapolating it. And like, I'm like the old man. I am the old man yelling at the cloud right now. I'm just like so done with so much of this. I'm just like, all right, everybody, you have no idea what you're talking about.
No idea.
So anyway,
no idea.
Yeah. Love the beat on 616 in LA. Thought it was it's just applying pressure, right? He is squeezing slowly, this is a case where it's funny, right? Like, first of all, Drake should have never tried to provoke Kendrick. That was obviously
Drake made a couple of mistakes.
There's a bunch of, number one, he mentioned his wife. He didn't learn from Pusha. He mentioned, he might partner, right? He mentioned his girl. Number two,
go ahead.
Number two, he provoked him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Continuously tried to provide pressure.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and number three, he was a victim of bad timing, frankly.
He took
put everything into this one song that got completely forgotten about, and then now he had nothing left.
Nothing left. Yep. I think that completely. We'll get there. We'll get there. We ain't there. Meet the Grams yet.
So I like 616 in LA is good. I think just like for what it does, like he's just trying to corner him. You know what I mean?
Listen, I also want to note one of the ways, as the resident expert lyricist on this podcast. One of the ways that Kendrick won this battle, Kendrick rapped his face off. Like, we can talk about all the salacious accusations. Kendrick was finding pockets Kendrick was weaving things together. Kendrick was using entendres in his own way. And
Oh, he
with that
was for
said,
sure.
the first half of this verse from Off-White Sunseeker at the Marina, F a Phantom, I like to buy yachts when I get the fever, all the way to this part, what'd he say? I live in circadian rhythms of a shooting star, the mannerisms of Raphael. I could heal and give you art, but the industry's cooked as I pick this carcass of, like, that is
he's rapping.
That is the best rapping in this entire battle outside of one other record. Actually, two other records. But this is the best rapping that Kendrick does outside of one more record a little further down. He kills the first half of this record. And like you said, from there, applies pressure. I think he knows that the lie is more entertaining than the truth. So whether this is true or not, it doesn't matter. Let me throw in this seed of doubt. Weeknd mentioned it. Ross mentioned it. Other people have mentioned that there are moles in OVO's camp. Go back and listen to that Pusha T interview from the Joe Budden podcast. How he got the information about Adonis was through 40 and a woman that 40 was involved with, and so it's like, okay, I know this is happening, so let me just say it in my own way, because a lot of this stuff, the abs and a lot of the stuff that was said in Euphoria, like Joe Budden said about Drake 8 years ago, but it's not about what you say, it's about who says it.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. Just this record just applies more pressure and throws a little seed of doubt into the listener, because not Drake, Kendrick. It's funny, like another form of strategy that Kendrick used. Everybody talks about like Drake playing internet games, right? So using memes and being on Instagram and stuff. Kendrick was also playing internet games, but played them in his own way.
A different, like a new, honestly, a different kind, like a newer kind of internet game, right? Like Kendrick understood. He understood the rhythm of this battle way better than Drake did.
If we're talking NBA, he dictated the pace the entire time.
For sure. 100%.
There was never one point. There was no point where Kendrick was on defense. Not one point.
Yeah.
So yeah, this record is. I like 616 a lot. I do.
Yeah, it's a good record. So then we get to Family Matters, which has a music video, which has 3 different parts. The middle part is largely directed at Ross, largely directed at Rocky, Metro, all the other sort of assorted parts. First and third parts are mostly directed at Kendrick. Drake, I don't know. I feel like there's been a lot of beat switches in this battle, right? Like everyone's trying to like do a lot, but like it's funny. This record just came like off as like this is supposed to be this big bomb. He obviously like worked at it, had this video done of like the whole 9 yards, and I think there's good parts to this, but like it didn't land 100% for me. It felt unfocused a little bit,
That was my initial thought the first time I heard it. The first time I heard it, I said, "Oh, this isn't enough." I knew that whatever Kendrick was gonna come with after this was gonna squelch it. But like a lot of Drake music, time has been very friendly to it. I went back and listened to Family Matters again a few more times, watched the video a few more times. I actually think Family Matters is really, really, really good. It's really good, and I would have loved to have seen what would have happened if it had a little more time to breathe.
Sure. I mean, that's the other thing is like we just can't. It's impossible. It's like an alternate reality. Like it's impossible to know how I would feel about it, how everybody else would feel about it if it had time to breathe, if it had time to stand out there. But it didn't, right? It didn't. So it's tough. It's tough to listen to. I think the production is largely pretty good all across the board.
That third beat is crazy.
Third beat is crazy. I never really loved the beginning of Family Matters that he teased at the end of Push-Ups, the drop a 50 bag. Like I didn't really love that much.
That actually also features another mistake that Drake made. He tried to, and this is why I think Not Like Us works so well to the degree that it did, was because he tried to like pull in some of his like celebrity gangster friends against a guy who is from California, grew up in Compton, grew up in gang culture, and you're like trying to, question his ties to that culture. Like that was the death blow. That was the death blow. Like you can't do that. Cali gang politics are just different. And an outsider can't come in and dictate what's authentic and what's not. And especially not by using YG, The Game, and Chris Brown.
Right. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's so weird that like, I don't know. I feel like, and this is sort of my criticism of some of the records that came out is like, I can't believe at no point did Drake. Yeah. Okay. So Drake, he started with sort of like the childish stuff, like making fun of his shoe size and his height, which he continues to harp on throughout this beef. Then he gets more serious. At no point did nobody pulled him aside and said, Kendrick's kind of a weirdo. Have you ever thought about like going at him for just being weird? Like he dresses kind of strange, kind of unusual. Like he's got these weird voices. Like at no point did he ever go at him. At no point did Drake ever think to just like go at him with the, hey, you're like a weird little guy, aren't you? Like, what's wrong with you? No, instead it's like, it's so weird the way that he tried to go at him. Like, I feel like it's not like Kendrick is some like stereotypical, like, I don't know. I feel like there's all kinds of ways you could try to go at Kendrick, He tried to go at him for like the sort of fake activist thing, but like that's he had a huge misstep in some ways, but also I think Drake might be too online and he's like confusing how Kendrick's fans are and how they see him with how Kendrick himself actually raps, and they are not one and the same.
That's right.
So, Family Matters, yeah, I think like I will be curious to see with all these records how they are historically seen like 5-10 years down the road.
Yes. I've been thinking about Jay and Nas a lot in that context.
I've been thinking about how mild the Jay and Nas beef was compared to the allegations. Like what Jay had to quote unquote apologize for in Super Ugly is nowhere near what we are doing here. Like
absolutely.
We're so far beyond like, and it's not that beefs in hip hop haven't been nasty and dirty before, but like for two artists of this stature, like the New York Times is writing about this. Right. Like this is like a big deal in culture, in media, this isn't just two guys arguing over like a misunderstanding or jealousy or a woman or no, this is like allegations of illegal, immoral behavior that should result in prison time. Right. Like this is wild stuff, and you go back and listen to like, Ether and it's like, I mean, let's not talk about it, but like even Takeover, right? Like it's so even go listen to Super Ugly and you're like, all right, do you know what I just heard?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh, go ahead. So go ahead.
How do you feel about Drake? How do you feel about Drake making a video for Family Matters?
He just like misunderstood what the moment needed. He was trying to get too clever. He was trying to have a hit, like got some hooks in here. He was trying to do a thing, the whole like Good Kid, Mad City van. And it's like, I don't know, like he just misunderstood what people wanted at that point in time, it's funny because like he executed so well against Meek Mill, and then
different guy.
Kendrick just like, sure. And Kendrick just turned that and was like, no, that's not the playbook, my friend. And also I'm going to use part of that same playbook right back on you. And so I don't know. I don't think the video really matters. You know what I mean? I think I saw you, maybe it was, I can't remember if it was Twitter or in the Patreon chat. You had said like, you wouldn't be surprised if there are things in that Family Matters video that are like, sort of that are like Easter eggs for Kendrick, so to speak. Like he's going to be like, oh, I see what that is. You think so?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. There was so much in that video that was like, some of it was very, like the first two parts are very obvious. We're going to take the Good Kid, Mad City van and we're going to crush it. All right, cool. Second part is we're going to go to the famous Japanese restaurant, was it Ho Chi Minh or whatever it was called, that you referenced in Euphoria, and show you that that's really my spot. I know the owner. There's a picture of me and my son in the restaurant, and I'm going to have him wear all Pharrell's chains. There's people like, I thought you said you melted Pharrell. Shut up. It's the third part on Kendrick's part that is very interesting to me. Who is that white man that Drake is talking to? Why is he wearing a red bandana? Why are they talking next to that shed out there? There's this part where they're in the studio and there's the bra hanging off, the whatever hanger or what. Like, there's all these things. Like, the first two parts are really obvious. The third part was so coded. It was just like, I don't know if these are things that we're never going to know or we're going to find out later in time. And I think that's another mistake that Drake made, was that if we fast forward to the Heart Part 6, there was an opportunity for you to have like your Scooby-Doo, this is how we caught the villain moment, and like reveal, this is how we trapped you. This is the person that you fed that fed you the information. This is the fake mole or whatever. And he didn't do it. So as good as I think Family Matters is, like, there was just space for him to execute it a little bit better, but he made some mistakes that Kendrick capitalized on.
Can we, is this the time to talk about sort of how reportedly Kendrick got this information? Have you seen this?
I've seen a lot of stuff. So, but please.
What I thought I saw, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, and I don't understand how anybody can believe this, is that somehow this involves Drake's dad and a briefcase. Like, this stuff.
I did hear that he lost a suitcase at the airport, and somehow Kendrick got a hold of the suitcase. That's what I heard in regards to that.
Okay. I heard I heard briefcase. Suitcase makes more sense because it's like, okay, you want me to believe that Drake's dad was walking around with a suitcase, with his son's pill bottles. Like, who? This is the most nonsensical thing I've ever heard of in my life.
Yeah, but does it make sense that your dad was taking some of your medications, your drugs, like, on a plane so that he didn't have them on his person? Maybe.
But they're not illegal drugs to have. Like, I don't understand this. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. It's out of my pay grade.
Okay, so his dad is his prescription drug carrier. Like,
your dad being your weed carrier is wild. That's wild. Yeah. So with that said, shortly thereafter, within the hour, I look down at my phone. I'm literally, I listened to Family Matters once.
Yeah.
I listened to it and I was like, that isn't enough. And I'm just in multiple group chats. I'm on Patreon's group chat. I'm with some of the homies. I'm doing all this stuff. And I'm just like having all these conversations. Meanwhile, one of my boys say, yo, Kendrick dropped and sent a leak. And I said, Kendrick did what? I beg your pardon? And soon as I heard those stabs, that dun, 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 I said, uh-oh. I knew. Like, you have that in the stash, and you know you have that in the stash because you know that's your ace in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what Pusha did on the story of Adidon was very surgical.
Yeah.
And it was well written.
Yeah.
And there was a evil place that Pusha had to go to and was willing to go to in order to write that.
The stuff around 40,
if we all go to hell, it'll be really worth it. Yeah, really talking about your parents and all that stuff, right? And for Kendrick to essentially do his own version of that and take it a little bit further, he said it. He said, you'd be better off spinning the block and finishing your issue with Pusha than coming at me. He said it.
Meet the Grams is jaw-dropping. First of all, Alchemist kills that beat.
That was 100. Listen, y'all, you think that this is not a thing where I think Kendrick was hitting people up like, yo, what you got?
No, he had that.
That was 100% in the same beat pack as We Cry Together. 100%. 100%.
Right. He's been sitting on this. He's been waiting.
And I mean, that's the thing. To your point earlier about Drake really not having an issue with Kendrick, Kendrick's been calling him out since 2013. My thought is, you should have this in the stash. You should have been writing for this battle for 10 years because you've been asking for it for that long. So yeah, you should be ready. You should be clipped up.
Right.
This beat is evil.
It is. It's evil. This song is evil.
Song is evil. Flat out. Just call it for what it is.
It's also incredible.
It is incredible.
It's what's really fascinating is like so much of Euphoria and 616. Kendrick is doing Kendrick stuff, multi-layered, like double entendres, triple, like he's rapping, he's doing his thing. He's rapping here, but it is so stripped down. It is so direct. It is so like he switches flows on him a little bit, like when he says, Sandra, sit down. I'm going to tell you what, now listen. And then he does a little, your son's a sick man with this, which is almost like a Eminem-ish flow for a second there.
Yep.
But like it's that like there's a couple different points in this song which are mind blowing. First of all, opening it up with Dear Adonis is
I'm sorry that man is your father is crazy.
Yeah. No. I look at him and wish your grandpa would have wore a condom. Like
crazy.
This is Kendrick Lamar talking to Drake, the two biggest rappers in the world, basically. Yep. Opening your song with Dear Adonis is like, I heard it and I was just like, it's funny. Like when we were, especially the legacy of Pac and Big and other beefs that sort of turned violent, right? Like it was always, let's hope they keep, the phrase is always keep it on wax, which is such an old, keep it on wax, right?
Yeah.
I am not a violent person by nature.
Yeah.
I heard Dear Adonis and I was like, oh, he needs to fight him. You
got see me. You got those hands fast.
No. Never mind the other three verses, which are debilitating. The first verse alone is just like timeout. No. This can't happen.
I mean, the second, what I love about the record, what's so masterful about the song is how the stabs like just give you a second to like almost take in what you're hearing, because it's so shocking the first time you hear it. And it's like, it's kind of a second to breathe, but like kind of not. You have to pause it.
Yeah.
I like the first two times I heard it, I had to pause it and just like shock.
Oh yeah.
Shock. I mean, and then even the second verse saying like, hey, like, yeah, your son's like, your son should die because he's a pedophile.
Like when he does the first gasp is, oh wow, Dear Adonis. The second gasp is when he does the flow switch and he's like, your son's a sick man. And like, you're sitting there and you're just like, oh my God. Then he does that verse, right? Then it's Dear Baby Girl. And the realization that everybody has where you're like, wait, no.
Yeah, you got another
really?
Kid. Yeah.
Well, I actually want to say something about this because everyone's pretty scandalous about this. Okay, let's do the math. Drake has been a known rapper touring for the last 15 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
If he lives the life that's even a quarter of what I think people suspect he lives, we think he only got one woman pregnant? Really?
No,
this whole time?
There are rumors of him getting lots of women pregnant, but he just paid them hush money and they got abortions.
Hush money, abortions. If you think about like never mind what he raps about. He is a wealthy, famous person who has been touring as a musician for 15 years. Everything I know about American culture and how that works tells me that and by the way, he hasn't been in committed relationships this entire time, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like that's going for him. So yes, I would expect that Drake has many kids out there. Mm-hmm. Many. But like, I don't know. Everybody is so obsessed with this like hiding a child thing, which always was like weird to me because it's like, I don't know, what if he just doesn't want to have his kid out there? But there's a double standard with Drake because everybody wants to morally judge his lifestyle. They want to dance to his records, right? But then they want to judge him for not being Kendrick, right? So, which plays out into like every other angle of this beef that's going to come, right?
Yeah.
But the third verse to the daughter is ridiculous, and then the fourth verse is also just like the fourth verse is also like, especially, and this is masterful by Kendrick. The voice is rising as he's getting more and more angry, and it's just like it's a jaw-dropping record. I said this in the Patreon chat. No 5-year window. This immediately goes. If there's a diss track Hall of Fame, this is in it. This song is in the diss track. I've never, ever heard a song like this that meant what this song means, that is so evil and direct. And I mean, to me, this like, I don't even know how Drake could possibly respond to this. There's too much here. Like, I don't even know what you do unless you decide I'm going to go try to kick his ass. Like, what else is there? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't believe this song. It's unbelievable.
He said he grew facial hair because he understands being a beard just fit him better. That's crazy. That's wild.
A rap battle, this a long life battle with yourself. Like he came for him at the end.
He did. I really want to know like the J. Cole part. He like Kendrick keeps alluding to like you did J. Cole dirty. He says that in 2 different records.
Where does he say that? Does he say that here?
What did he say? Well, people say that the line before that, you lied about the only artist that can offer you help. People were saying that was about Cole. There's another line, I think maybe in Not Like Us, where he talked about doing J. Cole dirty. We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. But yeah, I mean, it's just, accused him of sex trafficking, talking about like the music industry being a bed for, pedophilia and all the things. And,
is it time to talk about that word? I can't believe we have to dedicate a segment on the show to the word pedophilia, and being a predator. And what does that actually mean versus what do people actually think it means? And I'm not going to sit here and defend any of this nonsense, but like, I feel like there are 2 words that have been used in what I would consider to be very elastic manners as a part of this beef. One is colonizer. The other is pedophile.
I would push back and say I'm not mad at the colonizer. It's a strong term, but using the example of you got the G Unit chain, you got Pharrell's chains, you got Pusha T's mic, you have all these like trinkets of like hip hop history that should belong to their owners, and you have them in your museum, or you have them in your house like a museum, similar to all of the artifacts that come from different cultures and civilizations that just randomly sit in a warehouse in Houston, Texas. You know what I'm saying? Rather than like belonging to their rightful owners. I could see how people would make that parallel. I do.
The thing is, all the stuff with the chains, it's so obvious. I think deep down Drake is kind of an obsessed fan.
Absolutely.
The G Unit chain is a replica that he had made for him.
Yeah, Johnny Dang did it. Yeah, I wish it was the authentic one, but like Young Buck got robbed for the original one, right?
Right. Like I mean, I think Drake is a kind of deep down inside, he's like a nerdy, like insecure hip hop fan. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what else to tell you.
I'm gonna look in the camera and say this. Drake, without all of his everything that makes Drake Drake is a Redditor. 100%. He's just a nerd. He would 100% be on So in the early to mid 2000s with us.
100%. 100%.
He would be on a nerdy message board with us. Absolutely.